So I have a total of 17 piercings, and I have retired 2 of my piercings, and that of course is my lip piercing and the other side of my nose I decided to retire. So that is everything for that. So let's dive into the pros and cons, you guys. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a pretty fun video because I do have a lot of piercings, and this video is going to be pros and cons of piercings and my notes, my experiences. Everybody deals with piercings in an entirely different way. So yes, let's dive into this video, and I have notes and get into this video. Alright, so let's start with the cons, because to me, I think there are more cons than pros of piercings. Now, the very first one is infections, and that is the honest to God truth, because it doesn't matter if you're getting tattooed, if you are getting pierced, it doesn't matter what's going on. You are putting a foreign object into your body that your body has never experienced before. So you are very prone to infections, and I'm not just talking about that. They could have pierced you with a dirty needle. Something could have happened. A piece of bacteria could have got into the something landed on that needle, something landed on the jewelry, and you got pierced with it. And you know, sometimes you can't see that kind of stuff, but also do your research before you get pierced, or if you get a tattoo, make sure that your tattoo studio or piercing studio has very good ratings, because you don't want an infection. An infection can be quite annoying. You have to constantly clean it, and can also even cost you ending up in the hospital or doctor's office and on antibiotics. Alright, so number 2 of a con is the price of piercings. Now, it just depends on what kind of piercings that you are wanting. Like if they are not very common piercings, and you could look to, like, the most I've ever paid for a piercing was $55, and that was my conch piercing. Now, I used to go to a studio in Florida where it was home of the $25 piercing. It didn't matter what you got, it was $25. You could get your tongue pierced, but it also just depends on the area and stuff like that of where you live when it comes to piercings. The pricing can be, like it says right here, it can be as high as $50 for a simple cartilage piercing, and I have paid that amount of money. Plus, it is always good to tip your piercer, because they're taking the time out of their day to pierce you. So always remember, and it doesn't have to be a very expensive tip. It can just be $5 or whatever. So yeah, limitations. Now, this one I'm going to read you a little brief thing that it says is, depending on the piercing location, it can put limitations to your current lifestyles. For instance, like a tragus or a daith piercing can cause it to be difficult to wear earbuds and stuff like that. And yes, that is very true. Like, I will show you, like, my ears have a lot of activities in them, so a lot of times I don't wear earbuds. I've never been an earbud kind of person. So yes, if you have nipple piercings, it can be sensitive to as when you're wearing your bras or certain things like that. If your clothes are too tight and it's pressing up against your nipples, that can also be quite annoying. And another thing is, sometimes places of employment might not allow you to have a certain amount of piercings and stuff like that, because that is one thing that has been my problem. And then, let's see, and then it says there are basic cons associated with these piercings. Depending on the person, these cons can be a deal breaker. or help them decide where they want to get a piercing. But for people like me, these cons seem worth the risk. And that is true if you are somebody who really wants to have a certain piercing in a certain location. You can just pretty much look past it. And also, if you do have a lot of activity in your ears, you can also just wear the big earphones that actually just sit over your ears so it doesn't really irritate your piercing. So now let's go ahead and move on to the pros of having piercings. Expressions. And what I'm going to do is, piercings can be a way to express yourself by adding a little bling to your body. And that is true because you are personalizing your body. Like, I've always felt like I really don't understand like the whole deal of people who trip and flip out when you have a piercing. It's like, it's my body, let me do what I want to do. Like, okay, if you have a negative point of piercings, that's perfectly fine, because you don't have to worry about it, because you obviously aren't going to get pierced. You obviously ain't blah, 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 blah. So why are you attacking somebody who does enjoy piercings? Like, just shut it up. My mom always told me, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. And obviously, a lot of people don't know that phrase. So if you're watching this, you just learned something new today. Alright, the next thing is impermanence. If you are looking to change your look or express yourself, earrings can be a fun way to do it without the lifetime commitment of tattoos, which is true, because I'm going to do a whole nother video on tattoos because I have more tattoos than piercings. Don't like your piercings? Hey, you can always take them out. They are not lifetime commitment like a tattoo. So 2, 3, like, I got tired of my lip piercing. I took it out. So the only con to that would be is you are left with a scar, as you guys can tell. So just always remember that if you do want to get pierced, there are some things I am going to add at the very end of my personal pros and cons of piercings. Alright, and then the third one is fashionable. Like I said, they are flashy. Like, if you look at, say I have my hair up, my ears would be very interesting to look at, because you're like, whoa, you got that kind of piercing? Whoa, you have that kind of piercing? So it can be fashionable. Like, if you have your nose pierced, like I have the double nose pierced, I fell in love with that look. It's very fashionable. I do agree with that. And that's pretty much it for the notes that I jot down that I thought would be the most helpful for people like that. So now we're going to go into my personal pros and cons of piercings. And that is, like I said, I think there's more cons than pros, because when it does come to piercings, you have a lot more complications with them. They take forever to heal. I am a very impatient person when it comes to stuff like that. I just feel like, okay, after a week, it's done. It should be healed. No, it's not. It may seem like it's healed, but it's not. That's one thing that does kind of aggravate me personally with piercings. The other thing that bugs me with piercings is keloid bumps, because once again, back to, I get very lazy when it comes to my piercings. Is my biggest problem is I feel like if it's not hurting, then it's fine. So I sometimes don't clean it. I go a couple days without cleaning it, and then all of a sudden I'll bump it, and then I'm like, maybe I should clean my piercing. That is my personal problems that I have. Keloid bumps, you constantly have to clean them until they are healed. So if you are somebody who doesn't have patience with that, I definitely wouldn't get that. What else do I find very annoying about piercings? Oh, when you are trying to sleep, I have so much activity in my ears, And this, my double helix and my conch are the two newest to oldest piercings. So I'm like having to build a barrier. Like I push my pillow down so it kind of makes a hole. And then I lay my ear down into it just so there's no pressure pressing onto them, because sometimes I wake up and my ear swells up because of pressure onto them. That is another thing I do find aggravating about my piercings. And I think that's pretty much it for the cons of my personal experience. And then the pros is I definitely love piercings. I know you guys are probably going to be like, what? I actually enjoy the pain of getting pierced. It's like a rush to me. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I thrive off that pain of getting pierced. So it's like I'm pumped, I'm ready for it, and it's like once it's like, I don't know, it's so weird. It's just something in my head. So yeah, that is one of my pros. And that's pretty much it, I think, because mostly what I am about is tattoos, and I want to make a separate video about that. But I wanted to make a piercing video related because I do have quite a few piercings. One other thing, like I was talking about earlier, is if you do decide to retire a piercing, just always remember the fact you will always have a scar. So I took my lip piercing out. I had this for probably 7 years, and I decided to take it out, and I'm left with a nice scar. I used to have this side of my nose pierced, and there is a scar there. So yeah, just always remember that. Alright, you guys, so that is my pros and cons of my piercings. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big, huge thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything else that I may have not addressed, go ahead and slap them down in the comments, and I will answer them as soon as I can. I upload every 3 days due to working purposes, and I will see you soon.